Curious about the top 3 tips in assessing properties? You won't want to miss out on this. I'm about to drop some knowledge on you.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. This is Ted Thomas, the Tax Lien Certificate and Tax Deed Authority. Now today, Ted's going to be sharing 3 tips that's going to help you assess your property before you go to auction. So let's get to it. Number 1, understand the location. Ted, what are some of the key items that you're asking yourself, somebody should ask themselves when it comes to the location of the property?
Well, I'm fond of saying you can fix the property, but you can't fix the neighborhood. So obviously the neighborhood is pretty important. So I'm going to talk about a subject that we can kind of lay it on the table right now. We can kind of dissect it together. But quite frankly, if you want to talk about locations on property, it's probably an all-day seminar. But let's break down a few things and see if we can get to know some things that you can learn quickly on this video. So everybody likes to have a car so they can drive around, but some people have a car so they can commute to work. Now, why do they want to commute to work? Because in the major city that they're close by, they can earn high dollars, but they could live out in a rural area. So why are they doing that? Because location is important. People like to live in rural American towns. However, young people, well, they're eagerly moving upward mobility, and they want to make a lot of money. So what do? They want to commute to the city. Why? Because they want to make money. So these 2 different locations are really important in your life. Where are you going to work and where are you going to live, okay? So let's go through that and kind of think it out a little bit. So if you're one of those people that has to take a carpool or you're going on a bus or something like that, I know what you're doing. You're trying to live out there with these little narrow roads, there's lots of nice trees, maybe even some grazing animals. That's a location, that's important, and I understand that because people want it quiet. They don't want a lot of noise of the city. So location becomes everything when you're talking about real estate.
So, for folks who maybe don't really understand the true importance of a location, can you explain just why it's so important?
Well, I think I can. If you had a property that had a railroad track in the backyard and 40 trains passed by each day, well, you'd probably have to put up with a lot of noise. Now, there are people that live like that. Compare that with a cute little property. It's a small property, not a lot of room in it, but it's located on a rural road. We only hear a car go by once in a while. Well, that's a little bit of this. So those are 2 different locations, very important to what you want. I don't know what your preference is going to be. So kind of think of it this way. If you're in a business, you had an ice cream stand and it was on a rural road, well, you're probably going to be broke in about 6 months or about 6 weeks or even 6 days because there's not enough people to buy your ice cream. But the other side of that is, what if you had an ice cream stand? It's a hot day in the city. There's probably people lined up to buy your ice cream, all right? So choosing the location is important, whether you want to live there or whether you want to run a business there or whatever that you're going to do. So tax defaulted real estate, we really have to think about that a little bit because the properties are used and abused, all right? So we don't always get to pick the location, but my instruction always would be, look, think about what you're going to do. You might get a really nice property, but it's in a bad neighborhood. Well, how are you going to sell a bad neighborhood? The new buyer that comes along is going to be considering the neighborhood. Do they have good schools? Is there any crime? Whatever else is going on. So a bad appearance you could fix, but you couldn't fix the location. So I would say to someone, maybe get a property that appearance isn't so good, but it's in a good location. But you could take that property that didn't look so good, clean it up, paint it, maybe put some landscaping and some new trees. What's my point? Location is a different thing to every person. It's very personal. People have preferences, and you know what? People are opinionated. I don't know what your preference is, but it's mostly personal and it's mostly very subjective.
Tip number 2, property condition. So what are the things you should be looking at when you're evaluating a property as far as the condition of it?
Well, we're in the tax defaulted business. We're buying used and abused. Now, I didn't say buy junk. Forget about junk. You can't fix junk. But you need to look at a property. But that, I mean, you need to walk on the property, look at the neighborhood, look at the property. There are some things that are going to cause you not to bid on a property. What do I mean by that? Well, if it has too many repairs or too much to rehabilitate it, and you didn't have the money to do that, that's a big concern. You're probably not going to want to buy that property. All right, so what are the most expensive things to do on a property? Fixing a kitchen, I can tell you, is probably the most expensive thing you'll ever have to do on a property. but it could be a roof repair. It could be a structural repair. Maybe it's a bathroom repair. The kind of properties that we want to talk about, let's clean up the trash, do some paint and clean, give it a little TLC, tender loving care, and move on. Okay, so my preference is let's buy a property below the market, which is what you'd get at a tax defaulted auction. All right, if you don't have the skill to fix up the property, think about who you're going to sell it to. You maybe want to start befriending contractors, people that do fixer-upper properties, guys and gals that like to do that work. They're excited about properties that just need paint and clean and lots of tender loving care.
Number 3 is profit margin. So how do you determine and calculate the projected profit margin for a piece of property that you're interested in?
Well, you can figure out the profit margin on a property before you buy it, and you better figure out before you buy it. So you need to know about the neighborhood and what you're going to be able to sell it for. That's knowing about comparables. But before you buy a property, you can go to the county records, and number 1, they will tell you the tax assessed value, and number 2, they'll also tell you what the minimum bid is. So if the minimum bid is down here and the value is way up here, well, you've got some margin to work with. The big key in this business is make sure you don't overbid. Now, many people get to an auction, they haven't looked at the property, so they bid up. As they keep bidding up, they're getting closer and closer to market. How are you going to sell a used and abused property if you bought it at the market price? That's not going to work out too good. All right, so what you want to do is you want to buy at bargain prices and then sell at bargain prices. All right, if you want to make profits, you've got to think about that ahead of time. You can't wait till the last minute. So look at the neighborhood. If the neighborhood's okay, look at the property. There are properties you won't want to buy. Check the comparables. What about the neighbors? What if the neighborhood has a bowling alley and at night they have people come out there and park in front of your house and in your driveway, and you're probably not going to want that. What about the neighbors? You can't change the neighbors. If the neighbors are nice, that's going to help you sell the property. I hope you're getting the idea.
So listen, if you have a question for Ted, you can leave it in the comments section below. He will get to it. You will get an answer. While you're down there, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. One last thing, Ted, how can folks find out about where these auctions are happening and when?
Okay, well, there's a couple of ways to find out about auctions. Number 1, it's always going to be published in the county, in the local newspaper. It's also going to be put on the county website. So if you want to track all the county websites, you can do that. We've changed all that and done it so that it's set up electronically. So right below me is what I call a magic map. And that magic map, you can go to the magic map electronically and go from state to state and county to county and find out exactly how many auctions are going to be, what the prices of properties are, what the minimum bids are, and a whole bunch more. It's right below me.
Just click right in the description, folks, and take Ted up on his nice auction calendar. And thanks for watching.